with the stories. So here I am at the library in San Francisco. This library, by the way, has possibly the greatest female nude statue I've ever seen. Uh, it's also a gay library, which is a waste, but whatever. Uh, and so here I am in the gay library in San Francisco, and I've been here about 2 months now. I flew here from Michigan to be homeless and to try to figure out why nobody in the world knew how to solve the meta crisis or the coordination problem or AI safety. And if nothing anybody was doing was working, then maybe it would have to, by necessity, be something people weren't doing. That's not much of a hint, but at least you can do something very unlike what's being done and hope that something emerges. So I had the idea to come here and I thought, this is crazy, but could I do it? Could I actually make it work? I thought about the food and the shelter and the cold. So I did some preparations. I did barefoot snow running in Michigan. And I was like, well, if I can do this, I can probably handle San Francisco. I mean, it's San Francisco is the other thing. Like, this is only one of like three places in the country that I could do this like in the middle of January and February. And now we're into March, and so far so good. And the weather is only getting better. I mean, it's getting easier. I mean, and I'm better at things. My resistance to cold and to hard surfaces and um, fear of wild animals and all of these things. So that's lovely. I did the barefoot snow running to get ready, and I went without food. I went without water. Um, and I was like, if I can't figure out food for a day or two, like that doesn't nothing really happens. As long as I can figure it out within a day or two, we're good to go. Same thing with pretty much everything else. So I got to the point where it's like, I think I can do it. I think I can do it. So I booked the flight. I was getting ready. A few days before, I'm like, this is just what it feels like to be insane. It's like it all makes sense in your head, and then you're like, you get a cold, hard touch of reality. And I dived into that. That was part of the strategy. Is like at some point I'm going to be surprised, and the my hope is not on me having the answers. My hope is that when I face that, I can mourn it deeply enough to be capable of coexisting with it. And that can mean realizing that I was mistaken or wrong or insufficient or undeveloped in any number of ways. But that seems to be the path. And well, and then I got to the airport, man. I got to the airport and I'm like, hey, Chat GPT, what do you think of my plan? And it's like, you will get hypothermia and die. Seriously, even if you're going to do this, don't do it in San Francisco. Go to LA. And I'm like, what do you go to LA? Like, man, it kind of scared me, but it was like so wrong. I'm like, why are you being so scary and fear mongering? Maybe it would be, maybe that's the right thing to say. But it scared me a little bit. And then I got here, and the first day, I mean, I thought I could just find Wi Fi and then bootstrap from there. For want of a Wi Fi, I ended up improvising the first night. I asked a bunch of people, but it turns out that the high prevalence of homelessness means that people are very uninclined to help what seem to be innocent questions. Um, it was when I started asking the homeless people, and they also were not willing to tell me where I could find Wi-Fi, that I sat down and I was like, okay, here we are. I think the main danger here is other people, so I'm just gonna walk until there aren't very many people. I walked a ways and I sat down in an alley to sort of meditate, sleep, whatever. And I was scared. I was like, here it comes. Like it's gonna be all night. It's gonna be hours. What is it gonna be like? I've never done this. It's dangerous in ways I don't really know about. I found a beautiful little spot to lean in, and then I looked back and there's like a rusty nail hanging out of the corner, and I'm just like, I'm glad I didn't start off with a rusty nail in my skin, and then there were skunks. Why did I run into two skunks like my first week here and now never a skunk again? But I got here and I'm like sitting down at night and I'm closing my eyes and a skunk. I open my eyes and there's a skunk there and I'm like, I wasn't prepared for this. How could I have possibly been prepared for this? Is the story, is the real story gonna be that I thought I could do it, and then I got there, and a skunk sprays me, and I'm ashamed and humiliated, and it's like, you fool, what did you expect? What on earth did you expect? It's like, but the skunk didn't spray me, and the second skunk didn't spray me, and the coyotes aren't a problem. They're lovely folk, and um, the raccoons are sort of fun, and that's basically it besides the people. And so I was like scared. There were a couple of raccoons that first night, but I was going there minute by minute, hour by hour. It was getting colder and colder, and it kept not being that bad. Like just like nothing really happened. Like I was there for a while, and I was sort of having this moment where I was like, I was looking at the rusty nail and the broken glass and the graffiti and the raccoons, and I'm like, ah, I don't exactly feel like in control, but like nothing is hurting me in the whole universe right now. Not a single thing is hurting me. Like the whole universe, in some sense, is conspiring for me to be here and alive and okay and at peace and like things are fine. And it was surprising how okay it was. And then it was like blissful how okay it was. I was like, it is okay. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is amazing. I was like that like all my first week. I was not getting proper sleep my first week, but I was getting away with it. I was just so full of enthusiasm and I was like, it just keeps working and everything's fine. And I went without food and so now I'm eating Pop Tarts and peanuts and PB&J and that's better nutrition plus the potato chips than I had before I got here. The week before I got here, I also prepared, you know how they banned that red 40 cancer color ingredient. So I went to my local 7-Eleven where they were selling these cancer things for a penny a piece. So I bought 94 of them. And my last week before I got here, I lived off of cancer and sugar. And I felt good. My energy was good. My mood was good. I was exercising. I was doing things. I'm like, I'm okay. I'm okay. And then I got here and I'm like, yeah, the potato chips and the PB&J are all a step up from the cancer. Like everything is just getting better and better. Um, so let's see. I got here first week, and the idea is to sort of like this is the place. Like San Francisco's the place. Um, like the new most powerful people in the world. They're not the presidents or the prime ministers anymore. It's the people creating the AI and shaping what that's going to look like. And so here's the place. And I like to say now is the time, but I feel very late to the show. If I'm being honest, I feel I'm a procrastinator and afraid and I don't know what to do. But I mean, I was here a year ago, 10 months ago. I was visiting a friend at a sort of group house he sort of runs. Um, and things were not quite right to bootstrap from there. But I look back now and I'm like, I could have just walked outside. I didn't have to fly back. I could have just walked outside. And it was summer and it was spring then. It would have been easier. But I probably wasn't ready, or maybe I was wasting time. There's this paradox I've been struggling with more and more, and maybe struggling with less and less, which is like, is it all okay and it's all sort of almost inevitable? Or do the actual choices you make really genuinely matter, and the actual choices you fail to make, therefore, really genuinely matter? And maybe I waited too long, and that was it. I'm gonna take my shot, but maybe I waited too long, and so maybe we go down. But if we go down singing. That's what I always say. I always say as of recently. So we go down, we go down. Right. That's the part of the idea of no more sacrifice. No more sacrifice. Like it should be what's best for you and everybody else. And for possibly facing your doom. So if I face my doom and nothing I do can make any difference, I'll be like, I mean, that's terrifying and everything. Honestly, I don't know if it will be terrifying. My fear really has changed, but it might be still terrifying, especially, I mean, the way it could go down. I mean, the sci-fi scenarios. But, but, um, but I think I'm gonna feel about as good as I possibly can in that situation, based on how I'm living for now. If I can maintain it, if I can resist temptation, if I can, if I can, if I can integrate the things that normally just ruin literally every single effort in all of humanity's history to do this before, right? Every time it somehow or other hasn't worked. We haven't become cooperative enough to not like speed run building the most insane technology ever at the fastest speed, like the fastest speed. Like, couldn't we go at the second fastest speed? I'm willing to negotiate. I can negotiate here. The second fastest speed, even. I'd like to hear them make a case for what's wrong with the second fastest speed and why we need to be going at literally the fastest possible speed. 5 years ago, all of these people making the AI would have said this was an insane rate at which to advance in capabilities and powers, and that if we ever got to this point, we'd be right on the edge, and we would not want to do that in the next 5 years, obviously. And now here we're doing exactly that. And why? Why can we not just not shoot ourselves in the face? Like something like 70% of America is like, we're not super happy about the AI thing. We'd like to like maybe not. And it's like, yeah, and that's America, where we probably think we're going to benefit from it to some degree. We're the ones building it. But like we're a species that can like really not want to do something and then we just do it anyway and it goes horribly and we're just like, we're so cute. We're humanity. And it's like people have pointed at this idea that, we could sort of just like we can be doing a lot better than this. We can be being a lot better than this. And maybe the key isn't in becoming the Buddha, because that's too hard for us. I have found myself reappreciating in a new context a more Christian context, a Christian idea, in which, for example, whatever the solution is, it has to work for everybody. Maybe that's not true. Maybe the universe isn't like that. Maybe we live in a universe where if you're lucky enough to have the right qualities, I I forgot to tell another story. I could tell about Grim Grizz. I was like, man, you're kind of a muse. No, I said, you must have a muse. And he's like, no, no, I am a muse. Muse. This was, yeah, right? You should meet him. He's a very interesting guy. I was on something like a podcast, 3 days, something like that, before I flew to San Francisco. I was on this podcast with Christian Baxter and Grim Grizz, and he's a character, and he does his thing, and he pulls out a card, and he says, "This is the card that means something, more or less." And I say, "In what systems?" And he says, I make a point not to know how any of the systems work. There's something else that you can do with it when you don't have any idea what any of it's for. And he pulls out the 10 of spades. And I say, the 10 of spades, would that be the 10 of swords in tarot? Because that's my birth card. And it is. I looked it up and it is. It is. It's a somewhat inauspicious card, if I'm being honest. But I have a plan for that. So he pulled my birthday card. And then 3 days after I got here, I was at a karaoke event at Kilowatt. And these girls were doing tarot on the table. So I walk over and I say, "Can I look?" And I'm looking just to see if my birthday card will happen to be out. And lo and behold, I called it shot. Like, that's the thing is, I don't buy into this stuff. I don't, oh, I saw the numbers. And it's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. What about all the times you didn't see the numbers? What about the times you thought you were and then nothing happened and you didn't go, oh, I'm an idiot. You went, oh, well. No, no, no. I said in advance. I'm like, I'm going to go to that table and be like, is this specific card there? And it was there. And then here at the library, I was here out on the patio, and I went back in, and they were doing a tarot event. This lady and these like 20 women and one man. That's about right. Tarot. Um, and I said, "Oh, can I look for my card?" And she said, "Yeah." And I started to say, yeah, yeah, because, this thing happened with Grimm and this thing happened at karaoke. And I look, there on the table is not my card out, but a book, a little book on tarot with my card on the front. In fact, the entire tarot deck she was explaining was based entirely on this experience she had when she drew my Ten of Swords, the ruinous card. That's too bad, but whatever. She drew the ruinous card. She drew it, and she thought, "Oh, I'll draw all of them." And she made it, and she wrote a book about it, and she talked about. And the under the cover, it said, "This is fine. This is fine. Ten of Swords, ruin. This is fine." That's the caption on the little book she wrote. So I go onto my computer. I go onto my computer, and what do I see? But Brendan Graham Dempsey. Now, I think some of you might be familiar with him. I haven't been attending the events, but I assume he's front and center here. What do I find he posted? Now, let me check. Was it an hour before I had my third tarot thing or an hour after? But what does he post? What does he post? I will look it up because it's interesting if he did it before I did it or after. What does he post? What is the image? But the Ten of Swords with the caption, "This is fine." And I'm like, 4 times there's a little, that's one too many. 3 times we can dismiss. We are good skeptic people. I don't know what to think about this. I don't bother to think, what does it mean? I don't know. I talked to somebody recently and they were doing something like an alternative version of astrology based off of my birth and location. And it was like very dead on. And I'm like, what does that mean? But I kind of don't think about it too much. No, I don't think I have to. I don't think I'm the apparatus that can break new ground on cutting edge things. I might be capable of wholesomely, yes. Justin has revealed the secret of the person of whom I spoke recently. It was her the whole time. It was my human design chart. I think of it as alternative astrology because it's based off of birth and location. Um, yeah, what do these things mean? I don't know. I don't got to figure it out. I hope. Yeah, what's up?
Is this an actual thing that has Justin met you and done your human design chart before? Uh,
We remotely, but yes.
oh, okay. Let's just cool. Carry on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
Fun,
invited
fun.
her.
Awesome.
Um, so yeah, I commented under Brendan Graham Dempsey's post. I'm like, these are my last 3 Ten of Swords events, including one that just happened like 20 minutes ago with all the people here. And now here's the 4th one with the added little bonus of the this is fine caption, which is a sort of opposite-ish juxtaposition against my Ten of Swords. I'm the Ten of Swords. I'm the Ten of Swords. The 10 is the last one. It's when the element has fully exhausted its energies. It's when it has reached its complete failure and ruin and has to move on to the next element. And the next element in the tarot system. And we need to reignite the world. It is perhaps my chance at redemption that in my great failures on the way out of swords, which is the element of air, I can appreciate the need to move into fire. And I believe that our culture needs to move into a fiery age. And if they start to get any bright ideas, I might come along and dice them all to bits with my far superior clever ideas, which would also completely fail and deserve to be diced to bits. Because we need fire and not air. We need wands and not swords. We need the ace of wands of fire and not the 10 of swords. But I will do my part, if I can, to fan that spark into a flame. But I don't want one spark. I don't want the one right spark to convince all of the others that they're wrong and they will finally join the right one. I want all of the sparks to keep pursuing their own unique visions and stop shitting on each other and telling each other how stupid their sparks are and fan each other's flames. And together we can figure out these cutting edge things. And until we do that, like I'm a fan of my current solution, which is don't bother. I'm not gonna try my best to come up with the new best theory of the esoteric. I am gonna maybe, I don't know exactly because I'm bootstrapping and improvising. I'm gonna maybe try to have like a harmonious small group of people that support each other well enough that they can collectively do what none of them could do individually, what no person could do individually, what every single person who has ever tried to do it has failed at, perhaps in part because they tried to do it too individualistically. I was thinking about this because I heard Muhammad Ali recently say that to be at the top, whoever sits at the top wears bears a heavy burden. And I thought, you know, Muhammad Ali was allowed to rise to the top like almost nobody was. He, in my opinion, part of why is because he aligned himself with the civil rights cause of the time and his people. And so, when a guy stands up and says he's the hottest thing in the world, there's a standard human social reaction that cuts you down a peg. But 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 Muhammad Ali was supported in his ascent because it wasn't all about him. And yet still, he says the same thing. You get to the top, it's a heavy burden. And if you go higher and higher, at some point it doesn't matter that you're aligned with other causes, people still resent it. They try to drag you down. They don't appreciate, they don't fan your flames, they dampen them. We've never seen a genius where everybody was just like, that's so beautiful, we'll fan your flames until they're as bright as they can be, and enjoy whatever you do. No, like, it gets a little bit too much, and then we're like, get a load of this guy, like, he thinks he's all that, like, and, I mean, there's a theory that our whole history as a species was basically built on this principle that as we developed agriculture, we started to be able to have enough food to grow in population. And so the populations, the tribes and so forth would get bigger and bigger. And then when they couldn't stand each other, they would just move and do separate. And that just happened for like tens of thousands of years until for like tens of thousands of years. For tens of thousands of years, if the group got too big, they were just like, fuck this, bye. Tens of thousands of years they lived like that. And then they finally changed. Why? Well, we don't really know, but one theory is there was nowhere left to move to. Everybody was starting to get squeezed in together, and they started to elevate their local heroes to compete against their neighbors, local heroes, their Achilles and so forth. And it's like all of humanity suddenly changed. All of our knowledge, all of our cultural revolutions came from finally fanning those flames instead of spending tens of thousands of years dousing anybody who shined a little too bright. Um, and so Muhammad Ali, he bears a heavy burden, and it's like, why? Why do we got to do that? Why does he got to bear such a heavy burden? And he's great. That's great. Go for it, man. Do it. Do your thing. um, yeah. So what could we get? What could we get if we were supportive and fanned our flames collectively? Probably then we can outcompete individualistic, burdened flames. But that doesn't look like standing up. No offense, Mohammed, and talking about how awesome you are all the time. It looks like finding a way to integrate yourself with a group, and that probably means being willing to lower yourself. I kind of have this idea of the biggest fish in the littlest pond. If you keep going into a littler and littler pond, at some point you're the biggest fish. And then if you just keep going littler and littler, you're not just the biggest fish, you're like the biggest fish anybody's ever seen around these parts. And I don't know. I mean, this is a tangent, right? There's sort of the theory of how do we get humanity to allow itself to do something unprecedented, something genius and brilliant? How do we get humanity to take a hard left turn and actually cooperate? Like, it would be very surprising. It would be surprising for humanity to do it. It would be a big twist in the story. So maybe we need individuals to write twists into their stories. and model at the miniature level the behavior that we need the species to adopt as a whole. If humanity can't possibly stay on the same track and succeed, then we shouldn't be staying on the same track ourselves. If humanity needs to do something that it can't figure out, then we need to learn to act without having figured it out. If humanity needs to cooperate like never before, I guess that idea would point at trying to sort of love people and get along with them. I mean, there are some rough characters around here. Man, some people are on a very sensitive trigger. You can never really know the tiniest thing. I listened to some, I heard a song, oh, it sounds like such and such. And there was this whole misunderstanding with this, I was at Martin de Porres, the finest free restaurant in San Francisco. Very interesting people there, and she got all offended, and it was like an issue. But like, what does Muhammad Ali say? You just have to forgive people. Maybe if humanity needs to be able, I don't know. Yeah, if humanity's going to cooperate, maybe we need to learn to forgive better. There's a little bit. Let me get off of the tangent, okay? So, like, let's say talk more about the stories, right? So I'm at Martin de Porter's, right? Why am I there? Because I hear that they give out free food. Why don't I go to the other places that give out free food? Because Martin was the name of my oldest friend, my Catholic friend, and so I go to the Catholic Martin de Porter's. Now that's a lovely place. I'll mention two interesting people there. One is a Franciscan monk. We were gonna meet tomorrow, but scheduling we're gonna meet next week. Man, this guy, I mean, he could be. I think we need more stories of people just doing good things, but in like cool ways. So he got like kicked out of the order for refusing to evict homeless people from some dwelling or something. And I don't know, he's here, so I guess he's in good standing again. But he's a real monk. I think he's taken vows of some kind. Like he's got actual like cred, and he's doing like some of the crazy things. The Franciscan monks. That's the other fun thing. It's at San Francisco, right? San Francisco de Assisi. I mean, he was an interesting monk. He's all naturey and doing supposedly miracles, and somebody stole his coat, so he ran after him and gave him his extra cloak because that's what Jesus says to do in the Bible. Like, isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? And you want to know why we don't get anything like that these days? Well, I've heard 1,000 reasons why it's actually for the greater good to charge money for all of your spiritual teachings. Is that doesn't seem, I don't know. That's not how they did it back in the day, the good ones. So he's got some street cred. He's possibly got ties to the queer community. He mentioned something about working in finance. I'm like, these are the people we need. In between people. People who can bridge between groups that hate each other, that refuse to talk to each other, that don't cooperate or get along, that don't share information, that don't have a productive dialogue that generates insights. That is where our hope lies. It's all the conversations we haven't had. Like, it's been building and building for hundreds and thousands of years. Why haven't the Buddhists had a proper conversation with the Jews? Why haven't the Hindus had a real, like, get it down with the Sufis? That was possible 100 years ago. Today, it's possible for free, instantaneously, in every language on the planet, all at once, and it's just starting to barely happen. And this is where our hope is. We have hundreds and thousands of years of cultural conversation that hasn't been used. And if we can get ourselves to use it, if we can forgive each other for all the things that offend us about, etc., that's part of the hope. And so we want people like this Franciscan monk at Martin de Porres. There's also an interesting, I don't know if she's a nun. I mean, she's working there. I mean, they get paid less than minimum wage. They say like you can't pay people to do this stuff. Like people mistreat them all the time. They say you can't pay people to do this. You have people that are here to do it on purpose. They're signing up for this. Um, yeah, she's very interesting. She manages them all fearlessly and gracefully and firmly. I mean, you have to be firm. I mean, uh, but she does a good job. Oh yeah, and yeah. I thought her and Justin could have a good conversation because okay, so here's this maybe none or whatever, and now we have Justin, and these are two different voices that don't normally talk, but there's something about them that I'm like put them together and something maybe happens. We'll see what happens. Um, yes, she and I gave hand massages to the homeless today. That was her idea. Like she's like there with them like that, you know? Like they're hitting on her all the time. And she doesn't even like politely but firmly. Somebody was like, "Oh, you going hiking later or something?" Because she's got these like hiking type clothes on. And she's like, "Oh, do you like hiking? Where do you hike? Like, do you like?" I'm like, "Okay, interesting. I gotta figure this out because I'm trying to also figure out how to be friendly with people because I'm at a gay library, right? In the gay place, the gay neighborhood, and I want to be friendly, but I don't want to like. I have this like sense that if I'm too friendly, it's almost like I'm lying. Like they're totally assuming I'm gay. Obvious, like I mean, it's the place, everything, and they're like coming on to me. And if you're not interested, you put them down or you say no. And if you're friendly, and instead you're like, there for them or whatever. I mean, what are they gonna think? So partially it's a sense of it being dishonest, partially it's other things. Anyway, she's an interesting example of maybe how to manage that gracefully. So they're interesting, and we want more conversations between people like them. I think of these people as the sparks. These are the sparks that need to be fanned into flames mutually, together, that can inspire each other. I don't want to I don't want to be a boxer. A boxer? I'm going to devote my life to box? No. But I admire Muhammad Ali. I do. Like it doesn't matter that I'm just like I would never in a million years think that was a good use of my life. But I admire him and I would encourage him if he were alive. Uh, so let's see. There's the some of the esoteric. I've been going to the karaoke places to sing, right? The singing is getting better and better. That first time at the karaoke place with the tarot girls, I also wrote down that I was gonna sing Tupac. And a black guy, went up after me and wrote down his song, and he must have seen that I wrote what I wrote, and he did not appear to approve. He acted like he despised me. I mean, he really didn't like it, as far as I could tell. Oh, then I sang it, and he cheers so over the top. I wonder if it's like over the top, like if he's joking or mocking. I don't know. But no, I get down there, and he's like, I didn't think that was gonna happen, but that was good. And part of it is that I did do a good job, but part of it is that it's Tupac. And part of it is, well, he said, no, that's the whole point is you're not supposed to do Tupac. Tupac's almost sacred. It's like, yeah, but I sang Unconditional Love by Tupac. See, that's the trick. It's like, you're like, oh, fuck this guy. Like, fuck you. And then I get up there and I'm like, Tupac said this about unconditional love. And Tupac said that about unconditional love. And they're sitting down there being like, Tupac wouldn't hate this. I hate this, but Tupac wouldn't hate this. Tupac would say something about unconditional love or whatever. So part of the idea there is I'm trying to learn to talk with everybody, to connect with everybody, to find something like I've spent so long in my life trying to be correct and truthful and accurate, and that's good. That's very good. That has brought me to a place I'm pleased with. It's good, but like most people are wrong about like everything. So it just doesn't make for a great common ground. Um, but I realize that we don't have to agree. I don't have to be there like, "Hey, Mom, and like, I gotta be upfront with you. Like, I kind of think boxing is ultimately sort of a waste of time. Like, I just gotta say, I don't gotta tell him that. I don't have to know. Like, who cares? No, we have other things to talk about. We have wonderful things to talk about. We have mutually encouraging things to talk about. Um, it turns out we don't need to agree to get along and to inspire each other. If you ask all of the religions, they'll say the real problem is that we have the truth. That's the problem, is that they just don't have the truth, that we're just right and they're wrong. And the final solution is when everybody will eventually figure out that we have the truth. and then we will be united. And it's like, what if we could be united without having a shared truth? And that may be very relevant in our times because I feel that AI is going to dissolve our collectives. Our nations are already dissolving, right? We don't we don't identify with our fellow nation members exactly. They have to be more like us culturally and in values and subculture. We almost connect more with foreigners who share our same values. The online digital culture is sort of more important. So, and yet even those new spaces aren't like the new grand like anchors, the bedrock on which we will build for a couple hundred years before we figure something out. No, I mean they're all the loosey gooseyest thing you're ever going to see, and they're fragmenting themselves. They're fragmenting themselves because nobody actually agrees on everything. And something about the way we're exchanging information and ideas very quickly is allowing everybody to find out that they've got deal breakers with like everybody. Like fuck you for this, fuck you for that. You get to know somebody long enough, and there goes a deal breaker. And so I think AI is going to accelerate this. I think we're not going to have the same shared worldviews. I don't think we're going to be able to have confidence that our worldview is accurate. But even if we tell ourselves, oh, no, no, I've still got the truth, personally, we're going to live in a world where everybody else thinks it's something else. So there's no more getting along based on agreement. We have to get along based on being in a context of non-agreement. That's okay. I hope. I think that maybe that can be done. It can be fun in a lot of ways. It can be liberating. I mean, I said the whole truth thing. It's good and all, but man, I mean, it can be a garish, harsh sort of a thing. So, getting along with everybody. So I sang Tupac. I sang Sin Miedo a Nada por Alex Ubago y Amaya Montero. I met Jose, who was cleaning. He helps not exactly clean, but like manage the bathrooms they have set up around the city. We talked a few times, and I invited him to the park. I said, "Dude, I meet you at complete random. You're talking to me about Jung. You're talking to me about the principles that we need to like make culture good. Come do an event. Come do an event in Spanish. We want to do it in Spanish." Uh, and then I meet him at Martin de Porres like yesterday. I'm like, "Hey, aren't you Jose? I've never met you here. Are you homeless?" He's like, "Well, yeah." I'm like, I look. And I'm like, "I never thought to see you here." He said, "I never thought I'd see you here." I'm like, "Why wouldn't you think you'd see me here? I look homeless. You have a job." I'm like, "Well, I just got it recently." He says, "Well, okay." Anyway, I invite him, and now here he is again. Maybe we'll make it happen. But we want to do it in the different languages, right? The different cultures. We want the dialogues to happen between all the people and the groups that don't talk to each other so they can learn from each other and they can produce new things. I mean, Bruce Lee talked about this, man. I feel like if he hadn't died, somehow they always die. The ones that really seem like they're going to do it, they die or they get themselves shot or they go crazy. But Bruce Lee died at 32 because he was too healthy, something like that. And he went 10. He turns up to 11. He thought he was turning up to 12. He goes back down to 0, and he died. But he said, there's so little understanding of the true Oriental, is what he said. And he said, and if you bring the East and the West together, there can be more understanding. And then, hey, something new might grow in that space, in that liminal space. He would have done it, man. I mean, he was doing it. He's considered the godfather of MMA. He inspired the philosophy. He said, combine it all. There's no such thing as style. The style is having no style. The greatest technique is having no technique. Are we not animals? uh, and because of him, now we've developed the greatest fighting methodology of all time. Like boxers, wrestlers, nobody from any of the old systems. And I'm not going to say humanity's whole history. We don't know everything. In everything we know about human history, every developed martial arts system ever loses to MMA. And pretty pathetically. The wrestlers are going to get beat to shit. The punchers are going to get wrestled to shit. They all do it all. And they're breaking new ground. They got this new guy, Tom Aspinall, who's the biggest guy ever to move like a cat. And he's got a wholesomeness to him. You can see there's a power in the seriousness. He says his dad's been like training him since he was a kid. And he says if his dad says to hang it up right now, he's done. Like he trusts his manager, he trusts his trainer, whatever. He's probably going to be John Jones. Although, I mean, this is recorded. I've had this little fantasy of being like, hey, John, I don't know if you can beat him right now, but I do have some new ideas on how some of these things work and where somebody who's sort of reached their diminishing marginal returns, because they spent decades becoming the greatest of all time, can break new ground by integrating the shadow. I mean, that would be cool if he actually could beat Tom Aspinall by pulling out something new at his age. But anyway, Tom Aspinall, he's very interesting, moves great, etc. And it's just fighting. I mean, it's just fighting. Fighting is almost trivial, you know? The greatest thing about boxing is that it can help create a Muhammad Ali. But Muhammad Ali is the greatest thing about boxing. So, how great is boxing per se? MMA is better. But fighting isn't like, it's a little bit trivial, you know? We need something like that kind of revolution. Like, think about that. It's the greatest of all time, thrown together because some guy was technically born in America, but then grew up in China and then came to the West, and he said he wanted to mix them together, and he said everybody refuses to teach each other because it's all secret, and he blows it all open. And some people say that's why they killed him, because he was blowing it all open. But you know what? He was 100% right. He was right. Decades in advance, he was right, and they did it, and they called him the Godfather, and it is the best thing of all time. It really is. It was there. It was there waiting, and it's so much better. We need something like that, but not for fighting. I'm trying to do it for like singing, you know? Oh, you have a comment? I'm still
I,
learning.
I, as I mentioned earlier, I can't stay for the whole session, and I'm being
Mhm.
summoned to dinner on multiple occasions. That's why people keep coming in. So I'm gonna have to call it for myself at 7.
Mhm.
I just wanted to give
Okay.
you the heads up that I will be exiting at that point, and the recording will stop, so you'll have to resume it yourself by just hitting record at the bottom as soon as
Oh, I
it
see.
stops
Yeah.
for me. Mhm.
Great. Thank you.
Of course.
Do I call you Ayn Ra? Is that I suppose that's how I addressed you.
Or read. I'm raw or
You
read.
re-
Yeah,
Okay.
whatever you prefer.
Okay.
By the way, I have lists of comments, but to do that would make it a discussion more than a
Mm.
storytelling time. And so I'm going to
Well,
reserve those for when it's time to do discussion. And
yeah, I think that is probably coming up here. So I've touched on some of the churches, the esoteric, the karaoke. Yeah, I'm doing new things in singing. New things. Like the topology of my throat and honestly my whole body is changing and my voice is changing and it's too bad that I'm sick right now. I could still sing pretty good and maybe I will. So let's maybe do that. But yeah, yeah, I'm getting good and better reactions in the karaoke. Um, I'm excited about that. Um, I don't know what to say about it exactly. Like here you are, you're like, okay, you're doing this thing to supposedly try to help with coordination and stuff, human cooperation in the meta crisis, and now you say something about how you're gonna be singing in new ways or something. Like, what is even the relevance? Yeah, I guess as I touch on that, I'm starting to move into my personal practice, which is very much connected to what I'm doing, but is a slightly separate issue. I have a personal practice which has allowed me, well, to integrate my runny nose to some degree. That was helpful, and to increase my cold resistance, um, and my emotional robustness, and my meditation, etc., and so on. Um, I won't talk about that right now, but yeah, I've got a personal practice. In some ways, what I'm doing is is an outgrowth of the same meta principles which underlie the transformation in the organism. It's the transformation in the environment by the same principles, maybe. But so I've been around. I've been doing things. There's the karaoke. There's the dance in between sing-a-songs. Um, I have to sort of warm up to do things properly. But maybe we try some things. I can show you some stuff if there's interest in that. So, is there anything before we kind of open it up a bit? Oh, I mean, yeah, I mean, other things have happened, right? Yeah, let me tell a few other stories and then we'll do it. Okay, so I was down to 19 cents and I'm like, here it comes. I have no money. I'm going to have to get money before I get food. Like, let's figure it out. But then $400 fell in my lap. I helped build an AI data center. See, I'm already brushing. I'm in the right places, and it's good for my strategy with loving everybody. Because then I went to the Stop AI people. I was hanging out at the park. They canned up. They said, "Hey, want to come to an AI event in the park tomorrow?" And I said, "Yep. What is it?" And they said, "Well, we want to stop AI." And I said, "That's funny. Because it had been raining all week, and I've been waiting to do events. I was going to do events in the park, this park tomorrow." Maybe also on Stopping AI. I will come to your event. I go to their event. I walked with them and passed out some flyers and stuff. We were connecting. It was all crazy. The guy who handed me the flyer himself had actually come to San Francisco recently as well and had just gotten involved in working in AI safety. And I go to the event tomorrow and I asked to speak a little bit at the end. They said yes, and they liked that very much. And then I said I was going to sing, not officially as part of it, but over there after it was over. And I sang My Shot from Hamilton, and they loved it, and they invited me back to their headquarters for 3 days to discuss strategy. But they have their strategy, and they're a little bit on the extreme side. They're the Stop AI. They don't want to pause it. They want to stop it forever. They got 3 of them arrested at the protest, chaining themselves to the doors at OpenAI on purpose. I went to that protest, and I sang My Shot again for the reporter, but this time I sang My Stop, not throwing away my stop. So he videoed it, gave me a mic, and said that he would, if I wanted to make a music video, he would totally help me make a music video. And then I gave him my number because I have to give people my number because I don't have a phone, and that's how it works. Is people have to actually follow up with me, and he did not. He did not, and frankly, most people do not. If now other people would say, well, just obviously you do the follow up, just slightly adjust things, and then you do the follow up. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe the filter is good. Maybe if it can't pull itself together, I don't want to make it. Because if I'm the one making it, then I have to keep it there. And then I'm going to have to let go at some point and it goes back to nothing. And it's like, no, it has to mutually reinforce or something if it's going to be real. So he didn't. And I also did some Muhammad Ali for him. I said, because this is a paraphrase of what Muhammad Ali said to Sonny Liston, the world champion. And I said this to the reporter. I said, ChatGPT, you big ugly bear, you're too ugly to be the world champion. The real world champion should be pretty like a human being with hands and a face and a spine like me. Human beings are the greatest. And he said, oh, I'll do a few more. I said, I don't know. Float like a butterfly, sing like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. He does some really great ones, though. Yeah, I mean, be the meme you want to see in the world, you know? Maybe humanity has to role play cooperating to actually do it. So when I say we should do as individuals what we want our species to do as a whole, maybe I can make up that that's what I'm doing with the impressions. I do other people too. I do lots of impressions. My impressions are getting way better. I sing with impressions. I sing like Britney Spears or Tupac or other people. That's a meme. it's a double-edged meme for precisely the reason we saw in the story of when I sang Tupac. It's precisely that I'm crossing a line to some degree that helps make it mimetic. And then it's that I can maybe get away with it, partially on the quality of the performance, partially on the deep love that I really admire and respect the people I'm generally doing this with. They often have a love about them, and so their fans maybe are like, right, the cool one here would be more loving or whatever. Um, be the me. I have to leave. Thanks, Ainra. Yes, looking forward to it, man.
Okay. So we will see you tomorrow.
Well, I've got to do a conference tomorrow.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, whenever the
Free.
opportunity presents, would love
I
to
know it just
connect
keeps
further.
happening. Just there's just so much. Uh, Sunday I should be freer.
All right. Well, let's readdress then. I will reach
All
out to
right,
you and
all right.
make
Hey,
sure
thanks
that's
a lot,
not
man. I
right.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. To record, you go down to where the microphone and the camera buttons are, and it's two buttons over. You just hit
I see it.
record, and then you can download immediately after you hit stop,
Okay,
and you'll have that video. I will post this video for you because I'm the only
okay,
one who can download this one I've been doing,
okay.
and then we can put them together to make one piece.
Awesome. Thanks a lot,
All
man.
right. Much love.
All right, see ya.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah, he's doing it right. I think he's